The apocalyptic disaster struck. Thanks to my prophetic dreams and a mysterious pocket dimension, I not only stockpiled hundreds of millions worth of supplies, but also built the world's top-tier safe house. I thought I could hunker down until the end of time, but the unexpected still happened. I jolted awake in bed, unable to believe what was in front of me. A summer night's breeze carried the warm air, and car horns sounded from the street below now and then. Everything felt so real and so terrifying. That dream again. 7 straight days now. In the dream, heavy snow fell from an ashen sky. Temperatures plummeted off a cliff within hours. Once bustling streets froze into desolate ice caverns. Not a single sound could be heard. No one was willing to believe that a world-ending catastrophe was counting down. But I believed it without a shred of doubt. This was already the 7th time I'd had this dream. Every single detail in the dream was crystal clear in my memory. I opened my computer and typed into the search engine, "Global abnormal temperature drop research." The news results that popped up were either irrelevant nonsense or dismissed the anomalies as ordinary climate fluctuations. But when I clicked on a few scientific observation websites, my heart sank to the bottom. Several monitoring stations inside the Arctic Circle, their recent data was either missing or had clearly been tampered with. In some regions, birds were migrating south en masse and abnormally early, months ahead of schedule. On the black market, trading volumes for cold weather gear and high-calorie food had quietly surged. These scattered clues were like loose pearls. And my nightmare was the thread that strung them all together. Although there was no hard evidence, for me, this was enough. I didn't know where these prophetic dreams came from, but I knew I couldn't just sit and wait for death. The apocalypse was coming. I absolutely did not want to die. I wanted to live and live well. But stockpiling takes money. I'm just an ordinary working stiff. My savings were barely enough in this first-tier city to cover the down payment on a small apartment, and every month I was scraping by paying the mortgage. A wave of helplessness washed over me. Suddenly, my vision blurred. With a whoosh and a thunderous sound, I appeared in an unfamiliar space. This space stretched endlessly, with no end in sight. It was so quiet all around that I could only hear my own breathing. Am I dreaming? Could the stress be making me hallucinate? I tried taking a few steps. There was real tactile feedback and the sound of footsteps. Something stirred in my heart. I thought about wanting to leave. And the next second, the scene before my eyes switched instantly. I was back in my living room. Over the next 10 minutes, I tried it several times, bringing in a water cup, books, snacks. I finally figured out that this was a personal pocket dimension, like a superpower I had awakened. And inside it, time stood still. I could store and retrieve things with my mind. The only drawback was that living things couldn't be stored inside. This was the ultimate survival tool for the apocalypse. In extreme conditions, having an absolutely secure mobile warehouse that also keeps supplies fresh. If that's not a superpower, what is? I suppressed my excitement and forced myself to calm down quickly. The biggest problem now was money. My gaze swept across the car keys on the table. That was my daily driver, bought less than 2 years ago. But once the apocalypse hits, a car would be worth less than a single packet of hardtack. Same goes for this apartment. An hour later, I had contacted several used car buyers and offered the car well below market price for a quick sale, locking in the fastest possible viewing and transaction time. Right after that, I contacted the largest real estate agency nearby. "Miss, are you sure you want to sell? It's really not a good deal right now." The manager looked at me, eyes full of scrutiny. A young woman in a rush to sell her only apartment. Definitely unusual. "I'm sure. How fast can the deal close?" I cut him off, my tone completely level. 3 days, no, 1 day. I'll pay an extra rush fee. Walking out of the agency, I slowly let out a breath of relief. As soon as I got home, I started putting together a stockpiling list. 500 boxes of self-heating hot pot, 500 boxes of canned beef, 500 boxes of canned pork, 500 boxes of canned fish, 300 boxes of canned fruit, 300 boxes of spicy instant noodles, 300 bags of chicken sausages, 1,000 jugs of purified water, 1,000 cases of Sprite, and more, plus 100 sets of various thermal clothing, and 10 sets of heating equipment, etc. Everything I could think of went onto the list. When the list was done, it was enough to make your scalp tingle. But this was only step one. The safe house was equally critical. My current apartment was on the 6th floor of an old building. Too many people, all sorts of strangers. It could never withstand the apocalypse's onslaught. I quickly contacted agents and drew on all my connections to find a suburban villa. In the end, I settled on an end-unit townhouse in a newly developed zone on the edge of the city. The developer here had gone bankrupt, and the occupancy rate was extremely low, practically semi-abandoned. Pros: detached, private. Solid reinforced concrete structure, plus a small basement and a spacious rooftop terrace. Cons: remote, with virtually no surrounding amenities. That was exactly what I wanted. The more remote, the safer. Using part of the down payment I just received, I paid 6 months' rent upfront. The landlord was grinning ear to ear and didn't ask any questions. The very day I got the keys, I contacted a contractor who does doors and windows and ordered the thickest blast-proof doors and blast-proof glass. The contractor looked at the modest villa. "Young lady, is all this really necessary? Better safe than sorry. Prevention beats cure. Finish as fast as possible, and I'll give you a 5,000 yuan bonus." Deal, no problem. Over the following days, I was constantly running between wholesale markets and shipping depots, going full-on stockpiling mode. Money poured out like water through a broken dam. The supplies in my pocket dimension were piling up at a visible pace. Watching the space gradually fill up, an indescribable sense of security and satisfaction slowly washed away all my exhaustion. Suddenly, cold sweat broke out all over my body. I had forgotten the most important thing. The apocalyptic disaster struck. Thanks to my prophetic dreams and a mysterious pocket dimension, I not only stockpiled hundreds of millions worth of supplies, but also built the world's top-tier safe house. I thought I could hunker down until the end of time, but the unexpected still happened. In a deep freeze apocalypse, even a common cold or fever could be fatal, so medicine was the top priority. The very next second, I grabbed my phone and called my pharmaceutical supplier. "Ms. Chen, it's so late. What's the matter? I need cold medicine, fever reducers, anti-inflammatories, gastrointestinal meds, antihistamines, as much as you've got. I want to pick them up first thing tomorrow morning. Price is no object." But as soon as I finished, the other end went silent. My heart leapt into my throat. It's doable. But for a quantity this large, I'll need to scramble stock overnight. The price will be 30% above normal. No problem. As long as you can get it all, money's not an issue. But as soon as the medicine was sorted, the energy problem surfaced in my mind. The villa's electrical system definitely wouldn't hold up in the apocalypse. After careful thought, I ordered 10 high-capacity portable power stations online in case of emergencies. I also ordered 50 solar charging panels. That way, even if the grid went down, I could rely on solar power to meet my basic electricity needs. On top of that, I also ordered 50 barrels of diesel. If the portable power stations ever broke down, I could still fall back on diesel generators. Early the next morning, the massive drug shipment arrived. Looking at the huge pile of cardboard boxes, I promptly settled the bill with the supplier the moment they left. I transferred the boxes one by one into my dimension, looking at the neatly stacked medicine boxes inside. My anxious heart eased just a little. Right after that, my solar panels, portable power stations, and diesel generators were also delivered. The diesel generators and power stations went into the basement. The solar panels were installed on the terrace. Meanwhile, the door and window renovation was also underway. Following my instructions, the workers replaced every window with blast-proof glass and added a layer of stainless steel security bars on the outside. This could withstand the extreme cold and also keep intruders out. The front door was replaced with a blast-proof, anti-theft door. The contractor laughed. "Young lady, even a professional locksmith would need half a day to get through this door." I just smiled. After the doors and windows were in, I had the workers reinforce the basement, walls and floor with rebar and concrete. They waterproofed it and added moisture proofing as well. I also bought 100 candles, 20 kerosene lamps, and 50 liters of kerosene. That way, even without electricity, I could still manage some heating and lighting. The stockpiling continued. I realized there were still many gaps in my original list. For example, toiletries. I added 200 tubes of toothpaste, 200 toothbrushes, 200 bottles of shampoo, 200 bottles of body wash, 100 bars of soap, and 200 packs of facial wipes. These may not be absolute necessities, but they preserve basic quality of life during the end times. And hygiene products. I bought enough sanitary pads to last 5 years, plus 200 packs of toilet paper and 200 packs of wet wipes. I also expanded the food supply. In addition to the self-heating meals and canned goods, I bought 500 gin of rice, 500 gin of flour, 500 gin of dried noodles, and large quantities of dehydrated vegetables and freeze-dried food. These have long shelf lives and are simple to prepare, perfect for apocalypse cooking. I also bought 100 gin of salt, 100 gin of sugar, 100 gin of soy sauce, 100 gin of vinegar, and all sorts of seasonings. Even with simple ingredients, I could still make a tasty meal. I also stockpiled 200 boxes of chocolate, 200 boxes of energy bars, and 200 gin of nuts. These high-calorie foods can quickly replenish energy and are ideal for emergencies. In the apocalypse, only you can protect yourself. I also bought several security cameras and installed them in hidden spots, preparing for the future, just in case. The days of renovation and stockpiling were hectic and tense. Every day I was running between markets, logistics hubs, and the villa. Funds were draining fast, but I didn't feel an ounce of regret, watching the villa grow sturdier day by day. The supplies in my dimension growing ever more abundant. That sense of security grew stronger and stronger. The workers pushed through overtime for a full 12 days and finally completed all the renovation work. On the day it was finished, I sat on the living room sofa, gazing out at the deserted compound, my mood shifting between turmoil and calm. And so, in anxiety and tension, I spent the most unforgettable 7 days of my life. That evening, I lay in bed. The wind outside grew more and more shrill, accompanied by massive flashes of lightning and roars of thunder. Faint car alarms echoed in the distance from time to time. The apocalypse was here. I walked to the window. Outside, everything was already a sea of white. The snow was thickening at a visible pace, nearly swallowing the already abandoned garden below. Looking into the distance, not a single light could be seen. Not a single sound could be heard. This city, indeed, this entire world, seemed to have been kneaded and frozen. In a single instant, the blizzard raged on for 3 days and 3 nights. It wasn't until the 4th day that it slowly eased. But the snow still hadn't stopped, and the temperature had dropped to a horrifying level. On the radio, official reassurance bulletins crackled in and out, but the situation was far worse than I'd imagined. The extreme cold had already engulfed most of the globe. Energy grids and transportation systems had completely collapsed. I observed the situation in the compound. Only a few buildings occasionally showed a faint glimmer of light, but overwhelmingly, there was only total darkness and silence. Some people probably hadn't even survived the first wave. Although my supplies were plentiful, there was one big problem. My fresh vegetable and fruit reserves were at zero. Over the long term, vitamin deficiency would cause irreversible damage to my body. I recalled that, not far outside the compound, there was a large fresh food supermarket. Suddenly, a bold idea took root in my mind. Outside, the compound was a white wasteland, silent and still. The only sounds were my footsteps crunching through snow and my own breathing. The supermarket wasn't far. Normally a 10-minute walk, but now it took nearly half an hour. The inside of the supermarket was in total disarray. It had clearly already been raided. I zeroed in on the cold chain warehouse in the back and crept over carefully. Most of the shelves were completely empty, but luckily, there were still quite a few cases of frozen meat piled in a corner, frozen fish nearby, and in the adjacent storeroom, there were still several dozen crates of fruit, particularly apples and pears, which keep well. I was overjoyed. I sprang into action. The next instant, entire crates of supplies vanished into thin air. The feeling was indescribable, like a deity clearing out their own treasure vault. But suddenly, footsteps and voices came from outside. Damn this weather, freezing my ass off. Wonder if there's anything left to grab. Stop dawdling. Search fast and get back home. My heart clenched. I darted behind a stack of empty shelves. 3 men stumbled into the warehouse, shivering, clubs in their hands. They're as greedy and anxious. Looks like there's nothing left here. Go check over there, quick. One of them started walking toward where I was hiding. I clenched my fists, calculating the distance and the right moment to strike. 1 against 3, risky. But just as he was about to spot me, a shrill, piercing scream came from outside, inhuman. What the hell was that? Run, run, run! The 3 men's faces went white. They bolted out. I let out a breath of relief, but didn't let my guard down. I quickly slipped out through the warehouse's backup exit. The entire way back I was on edge, only when I stepped through my front door did my racing heart finally begin to slow. And just like that, a few more dazed, muddled days passed. I thought I could keep lying low indefinitely, but the unexpected happened again. One afternoon, faint, shuffling footsteps came from outside. It's definitely this one. I've been watching for 2 days. Smoke's been coming from the chimney constantly, and yesterday I saw someone going in and out. This door's thick. Can't pry it open. What do we do? Try knocking. Doesn't seem like nobody's home. My heart turned cold. I crept silently to the door and peered through the peephole. 3 men were huddled around my blast-proof door, their eyes fierce and covetous. They looked like the same group from before. Hey, anyone in there? We're survivors from the neighborhood. We mean no harm. We just want a bit of food. The voice was deliberately softened, but the scheming behind it was obvious. I said nothing, just watched in silence. You hear me? Open up, we know you're in there. All those supplies. You can't eat them all yourself. I scoffed inside, as if I'd fall for that. Hurry up. Person inside, wise up, and open this door. Otherwise, once we bust our way in, we won't be so polite. Threatening me, I took a deep breath and actually felt a flicker of excitement. Bring it on. But just as I was about to make my next move, several shrieks rang out from outside, eerie and guttural. They whipped around in terror, frantically scanning for the source of the sound. Who's there? Quit the tricks. But then, they seemed to see something. All 3 went deathly pale in an instant, their legs buckling. Zombies, there are zombies nearby, run. My blood ran cold. Could there really be zombies? Was this real or some kind of trap? But the next second, they were scrambling away in a blind panic. Within minutes, they'd vanished completely. The empty doorstep bore nothing but a few frantic footprints. After some hesitation, I decided to stay put. Regardless of what was happening outside, as long as I stayed inside, I was safe. At the same time, I knew this was merely the beginning of the end times. As time goes on, the pressure to survive will only grow, and the limits of human decency will be pushed further and further. But deep down, I still believe I will make it through. After all, I prepared for so long. I will survive until the day spring returns and the flowers bloom again.